we know that we're definitely helping happen. We want to start our afternoon sessions, and purposefully, it's a relative short afternoon. We have 2 sessions and then a reception. But we would be remiss, which is why we didn't want to just leave after lunch, if we didn't also hear from our hub agro-dealers. So our first session after lunch is going to be our hub agro-dealer roundtable. What are the key drivers for development and expansion from the vantage point of a hub agro-dealer? We're very pleased to have Ms. Nana Aisha Mohammed. She's our country manager for Ghana and our West Africa lead, who will moderate this panel. And I'll let her introduce her hubs, but we're also pleased that we have geographic diversity. We have colleagues from Uganda, from Malawi, and Ghana. So I'll turn over to Nana, and we'll try and get some of our colleagues who are in the foyer to come back and join us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michael. Hopefully, I wouldn't be that boring. I'm not as fun as Sheila is, or as energetic, so I try as much as possible to keep the tempo up. Usually after lunch, we have a very dull period, but one of the things that I wanted to do with this session is to try to get as much as possible, not just the hubs speaking, but also get some feedback from the crowd as we navigate the session. So I'd like to invite Mr. Katu Hassan from Uganda. And can I invite Madam Rose as well? So please come up to the stage. And I would also invite Mr. Abdullahi Mubarak from Ghana to come onto the stage. And then from CNFA, Semukera Leonard. And very interestingly, he's from a project that is called Hinga Wunguke, which means grow profitably. And I think that's around the same topic that we're trying to talk about in terms of profitability of agro-dealer activities. Thank you. So I'll just join, just to give a prefix to the discussion we're going to have today. Critically, over the years, I think all the presentations that we've been having since morning has been talking about the critical role that the agro-dealer plays in the distribution channel, but not just looking at focusing on agriculture inputs, but also technology transfer. Increasingly, one of the things that we also want to do as AFAP is to also introduce, or have been pushing for most of our agro-dealers to also increase their play or their level of business in the offtake and the input distribution, the outputs aggregation component. Now, if you take, for instance, the activities that agro-dealers offer to smallholder farmers, it becomes very critical for us to continue to build their capacity and also strengthen their business base, because they not only just serve as a channel for moving product, but also a channel for aggregating products, as well as knowledge transfer to smallholder farmers. Most farmers, we would typically, first of all, instead of calling the extension officer, would call the agro-dealer for advice when it comes to use of inputs, and would always go to the agro-dealer as their first point of call. And because of that level of trust and that level of that strong relationship, we need to also strengthen that common base. Now, for this session, one of the main purposes of this session is to try to get as much as possible some valuable inputs from the agro-dealers in terms of highlighting some of the key successes that they have chalked in their different countries of operations, but also highlight some of the things that we as constituents can also do to support them grow in their businesses, and then also be able to serve the smallholder farmer better. At the end of the session, we hope that we should be able to come up with a more robust programming as AFAP, but also as a different constituents here, that in terms of looking at which areas that we can provide support and enabling markets, and then also to be able to help them to spur growth and expand their businesses. So I would quickly, I think the first person I would like to call to come in, because he has done a very beautiful presentation about his business, and I'll just invite him to do a presentation, and before we get the rest to speak. So Mr. Katu Hassan, he was our first Agro-Dealer of the year, so he would, yes. And so I would invite him to come and then take the stage and then speak about his business. So I'm trying to, as much as possible, maximize time, so I'll be pushing you a little bit. So please do come in 5 minutes, please.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm honored to have a privilege of speaking in front of you for the next 5 minutes that have been given to me. Unfortunately, my speech would have lasted 5 hours, but I've only been limited to only 5 minutes. My name is Hassan Kato Kwitejera. This is my business. My business is run by the name of Calm Farmers Services. We offer services as well as goods to our farmers. The biggest person in my life or in my business is the last mile user of my product, who is the farmer, and he becomes my biggest boss. Calm Farmer Services, this is our 11th year into operation. We started business in 2012, close to 2013. Today, it is 11 years in operation. We began with a very marginal capital of around $1,000, but apparently with the grace of God and a lot of players that have come into play into this business, we are almost closing 4-point-something to a few million dollars into operation. But however, such a milestone has been achieved with a lot of people who have come into play and the entire value chain. Calm Farmers Services, we were 2 people, I and my wife, but apparently we're employing more than 62 people. Apparently we've created quite an employment, and 80% are women and the youth. Since I'm only having a few minutes, let me just kind of be fast onto a few things. Would you mind helping me out with the slides, please? Now, if you look at here, this is the chain. The government plays the biggest role because at the end of the day, we are the children of the government. Then from the government, we are having the red people. Those are the financial institutions who are already chain players to everyone. We have input suppliers. Those are the people who supply us with the inputs, and manufacturers. Apparently, we have got Grain Pulse here, part of the people who do the blending. Then from suppliers, the material runs to distributors like me today. Then I run my material to the retailers, sometimes to the cooperatives, and then to the last mile of the farmer, who is the end user of the product. However, we've got financial institutions which come in, they give us credit. They give financial credit to both suppliers, to us distributors, retailers, and farmers, and cooperatives as well. However, now we got a new play where NGOs, all are partnerships, who come in and also do float the chain. And such people like AFAP today, and one of the reasons as to why we're here, they've come into the chain and rubricated the chain. They've facilitated in a lot of things with suppliers, negotiations with suppliers. They've offered credit guarantees. They've offered extension work. They paid for extension workers to disseminate the knowledge about fertilizer use and modern agriculture training. So in overview, that's the agronomical background of an agro-dealer in Uganda. And I think in the whole of Africa, that's what it should look like vaguely. Here, we have, as Calm Farmer Services and most of the agro-dealers on behalf of them in Uganda, we've got strength, opportunities, and weaknesses as well. But however, we're looking at reasons to how we have been a bit successful. We've expanded, we've grown, incomes have grown, and we've moved milestones. And these are some of the reasons for the expansion. However, we also have got weaknesses that have retarded our growth in some areas and the other. If we look at the strength today, we have got dedicated, trained people. Apparently, Calm Farmer Services employs 17 agronomists who disseminate the knowledge onto fertilizer use and better agricultural practices. It's been one of the reasons as to why the agribusiness trade in Uganda has thrived at a very fast rate, because of the knowledge dissemination. We have got After the employment of qualified people, we have got footprints in over 40 districts in Uganda. We've got 8 branches serving over 40 districts in Uganda. We're covering quite a number of around 300,000 farmers with products in terms of fertilizers in the whole of Uganda. Such a contribution that has really helped us to grow. And we're using it as part of our strength. And this has helped us to call in suppliers to trust us to move their products a milestone. We've got good relationships with all suppliers, with our partners. We are in good relationships with AFAP. We are in good relationship with most of our suppliers who are here, the Yaras, Grain Pulse is here. Such has given us an opportunity and increased onto the levels of strength we're having. We have got available trucks to facilitate timely delivery. It is very crucial. The gentleman before said, it is all about AAA, accessibility. After accessing the product, is it available? Can it be accessed? And that's why we have got volumes of around 16 trucks that help us disseminate different agro-input use to different users at the time so that we can catch up with the times of planting. Since 80% of Ugandans rely on nature, Mother Nature, that is the rainy season. We also have got a strong relationship with linkage with AFAP and other NGOs, you said, which they have linked us to different credit institutions that have also helped us to strengthen our stand into the field. Apparently, we have just established a 4,000 metric ton storage facility. That has helped us to increase onto the availability of the fertilizer. When others are out of, we always in stock, so that we can try to see that availability of the fertilizer at all time so that we can fight the situation of not having the product on a rainy season. So we focus on timely planting because we don't know what comes tomorrow since we rely on Mother Nature. The financial capacity, well, we are established with a capital of around 5 to 6 million. That is financial stability has given us also the strength of having stocks available at all times, much as other players with credit and so on have come through, but still we stand a better position in terms of finance, much as we would wish to have more and more and more. Much as I may be talking about the strength, but we also have got our own weaknesses. Every person in life has got one, and so is every enterprise. High lending rates, banks, commercial banks in Uganda offering credit facilities to most businesses at a very high rate. Approximately at around 12, 8, some goes to 18, you can barely make a profit after a lending rate, such a lending rate. So it's one of the weaknesses that has destabilized businesses. It has crippled agro-businesses in Uganda. We look at the negative attitudes of culture, my culture. Most of them believe that if you use fertilizer, inorganic fertilizer, it will destroy your cells. So we still have such mentalities into our region and our culture. So it has also destabilized the movement, the dissemination of knowledge and the use of their fertilizers and other agro-inputs. So it's one of the greatest weaknesses in culture we're having. However, much as we're trying to fight it, we've got insufficient sensitization. The government has put in a little bit of a less of an effort into giving us extension workers who are paid by the government, extension workers, agronomists, agriculture officers in 2 different districts and regions. So this has slowed the dissemination of information about better fertilizer usage and other agronomical practices. So had we had more staff, had the public sector employed more people, we would have had a very faster movement of the products. We're looking at the price fluctuation of both inputs and outputs. Outputs and inputs, today you are buying a bag of fertilizer that would have cost you $2, tomorrow it will be $3. So there is no stability in terms of prices. So this has, actually it has deterred farmers from using the products because they are not as certain as possible. If we buy today, what will be the price tomorrow? So it has really deterred most farmers into using the product. Also, we look at the unstable seasons. Rain, since we are relying on Mother Nature, rain can come for only 2 months. The next time it comes for only half a month. So barely they will have less harvest. So if they have less harvest, the next season, they won't be buying the inputs because they didn't make enough money. So it has also been one of the greatest weaknesses we've been having as agro-dealers in Uganda.
So thank you very much, Hassan. Unfortunately, I would have to cut you short. We would have time for you to talk about some of the businesses.
I'm almost done just with this.
Okay.
Our vision is to have this, the last mile user that is the end user of a bag of fertilizer. We want to create availability, affordability, and timely delivery so that we can change the livelihoods of all Ugandans, starting with the last milestone. With that, I would wish to explain that today, in my region, fertilizer is used as part of dowry. That is how precious fertilizer has become in my region. So for any man to access a beautiful woman, educated in Uganda, in central Uganda, at least a ton of fertilizer can be part of your bride price. Thank you so much.
So thank you very much, Hassan. I think that was a very key note to end it on, highlighting how important fertilizer is for not just cultivation, but also family expansion. Okay, so I'd like to give the space to Ms. Rose. If you can just kindly tell us a little bit about yourself. You can take the podium and tell us a little bit about yourself and about your business, and then the role you play in the Malawian market. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nana. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
And since I'm biased, I'll give you 8 minutes. As a woman, you get eight minutes.
Thank you so much. So my name is Rose Kalua. I am a hub agro-dealer, a woman hub agro-dealer in Malawi. Yeah. Can women hub agro-dealers raise their hands so that we can see? Are there any? Very few. Let's clap hands for her. Yeah, you know, women are like mothers. We must make sure that there's food on the table. And I have to tell you, AFAP, that we are so thankful that you brought us here, especially me as a woman. I'm really glad to be part of this audience because my life, my journey as an agro-dealer has been a very, very long one. But because I'm a woman, I've persisted. I've been in the agro-dealership business for more than 15 years for me to be in this, to be what I am today. So I'm so thankful to AFAP. I'm going to talk about the key drivers to development for agro-dealers. The first thing, which I think is the most important key driver to the development of agro-dealers, is the agro-dealer himself. The men agro-dealers, the female agro-dealers, those ones that have got their integrity, like me. I have that integrity. I am the input myself. I can do anything because I trust myself. I have fellow agro-dealers from Malawi. We have Mr. Gomonda there. Yes. We have Mr. Mawindo. These have been agro-dealers for a very, very long time. Every year, companies like Sidco, Bayer, they give them inputs because of their integrity. So integrity and trustworthiness is very important to men and also to women. I would like to say thank you to AFAP for what you introduced to us. I didn't know the agro-dealer business. I was just selling groceries, you know, the profits in groceries, until an organization called CNFA came in and introduced me to input supply. They trained me in business management. Then after that, they introduced me to a guarantee to Sidco. Sidco gave me 1 ton of seed on loan using the CNFA guarantee. From that onwards, Sidco has been increasing their volumes until today they are giving me more than 350 metric tons, which is not a mean achievement to me. So thank you, AFAP, for the support that you have been offering to us, especially to me. You have offered to us extension service. You have supported my extension staff. At the meantime, I cannot stay without an extension worker because it goes right into the field where the farmer is. They introduced to us the CAA system, which is very good, where you have got a CAA. A CAA means community agricultural advisor, somebody who stays there in the village. One of these has got 5 lead farmers, and each lead farmer has got 20 farmers, which means a CAA works with 100 100 farmers. So for me, I have about 90 CAs, so you can calculate how many farmers I work with. I work with a lot of farmers because of what AFAP taught me. I'm so grateful for that. Because of this, I also benefited in the subsidy program which the government put. It's not easy for the government to give subsidy program to a woman. But I participated at one time in the fertilizer supply in the subsidy program in my country. Then another driver is because of the warehousing system which AFAP introduced to us. Some of the agro-dealers were given warehouses. They were supported by warehouses whereby they keep their produce, they keep their fertilizers and their inputs, which can be taken to the farmers right in the villages. Though we have these strengths, yet we have a lot of other weaknesses. The weaknesses which we face in Agro-Dealer is especially on fertilizer. It's very, very expensive for somebody to get money to buy fertilizer. At least for seeds, we are okay. Not very okay, but AFAP offered us a guarantee system whereby we get seeds from, they introduced us to Mike, which is an investment company, and they give us guarantees at least to get seeds. But for fertilizers, we have a big problem, a big challenge. And I believe the companies that are here, the suppliers, can look at us. We can deliver. We will not steal your things. We will pay. Try us, please. Yes. So we have a lot of opportunities in Malawi to expand our market because we have created a lot of demand, but the supply is very, very low. So after this meeting, we are expecting that hub agro-dealers from Malawi will be supported, both seeds, irrigation equipment, fertilizers, and all other inputs. Just try us. Don't leave us behind. I heard that Malawi will not be a partaker of the guarantee, if I heard it correctly, but we are not worried. We know AFAP will assist us. Yes, Dr. Michael, I know you will support us. One of these days, that system is going to come to us, and we believe that apart from that, there are many other ways that you can support us, the men agro-dealers and especially the women agro-dealers. Thank you very much. I don't want to take much of your time.
Thank you very much, Ms. Rose. This is just to highlight in terms of the impact that women agro-dealers do have in the space, and the fact that there is multipliability in investing in women agro-dealerships. I would invite Mubarak to come and take the stage and talk about his operations in Ghana and also a little bit about the Ghanaian market. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Difficult for me to speak after the giants have spoken, but I'll try my best. So my name is Seydou Mubarak, the Deputy Managing Director for Antica Company Limited, based in Ghana, northern part. So a little about Antica. It's an agribusiness firm. We pride ourselves from farm to table, and maybe taking you through the activities that we do. One, Antica is the largest local seed company in Ghana, currently as we speak. We produce certified seeds of maize, rice, soya as our major crops. Then we are having the minor crops, sorghum, cowpea, and granules, also coming up strongly. Recently, we are adding pearl millet to the seeds of crops that we are producing. We are also into hybrids and then foundation seeds production that we do. As part of operations, we are into the sales of fertilizer, agrochemicals, and then the certified seeds. So both locally and then the imported seeds that we distribute. We run an AMSEC, Agricultural Mechanization Service Center, where we are providing tractor services to smallholder farmers, commercial farmers. This includes land preparation, planting, harvesting, boom sprayer, and all that services. It's one of the key components of our operations that we do. because from where we are, very few access to mechanization services. And so we see it as an opportunity to deliver this service to farmers. Second on our operation list is our input credit scheme. Antica, as a business, we run an input credit scheme where we support smallholder farmers. Last year, for instance, we worked with a little over 6,000 smallholder farmers, running close to $2 million of input credits. We give you the seed, fertilizer, agrochemicals on credit. The expectation is that when you harvest November, December, we get our payment back in kind. So we take the maize or the soya or the rice in kind. And that is one of the operations on large scales that we are doing. We are looking to expand this market because, one, it serves as a ready market for the inputs that we are selling, the certified seeds, the fertilizer. So this is a carved market we are doing, and then it's guaranteed that whatever we put in there, we'll probably get 2 times back in terms of recovery. When we sell, then we make some margins. So as part of that operations, we decided to add into aggregation component. These farmers we are supporting, they need access to markets. And then we are also having the end market demanding for this produce. So what we do is that the over 6,000 we worked with last year, you are having a guarantee market for whatever you are producing at the end of the season. You know that Antica would be there to buy. So first of all, we will recover in kind, and then secondly, the excess we buy from you. And as we expand our operations within the communities, then farmers get to know, and we create the awareness that Antica will be coming to buy their produce. So there's no fear of farmers, looking for, extra market or access to market opportunity. So we have that also as part of our operations that we do seriously. And for this year, we are looking to increase our smallholder farmers under the input credit to 10,000. The reason being, we're getting the partnership with the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, the government, where they are rolling out what we call PFJ 2.0, Planting for Food and Jobs operations. So it's a similar scheme the government is coming on board with. Actually, they understudied the scheme that we are running, and they are putting it on a larger scale. So we want to tap into that as a partnership and then expand our operations. Then as part of our operations too, we have the extension service delivery, where we are running a number of demonstration plots, on farm, baby and mother trials, demonstration to indicate and exhibit the activities that we have. Is it the seed, is it the chemicals, is it the fertilizers that we are supplying? And so within the operations of Antica, you will see us running a number of trials. And many people would ask whether we are a research institution or a business entity. We want to try and know what we are selling. We want to be sure what we are selling to the market. So before we come, even if it's a dry season, you see us doing hydroponics to try some of the things that are coming on board before we can roll on board. And then finally, we just started a rice mill. So in doing all these things, we are realizing that we need to add value to some of the produce that we are having. So we came up with the Antica rice that we are bringing on the market. It started in 2021. It's about 3 years now, where we have the Antica rice mill producing some of the rice that we have in the system. So we have the 5 kg, 25 kg, and then 50 kg competing with some of the imported varieties that we have. Within the Ghanaian market, it's quite big, and our customer base cuts across. We have a lot of partnerships with the government where we are rolling on their subsidy programs. We also have development partners like AFAP, the USAID programs that we are supporting and then partnering to achieve certain things. And then again, the commercial farms. We supply a lot of commercial farms, but our biggest is a smallholder farmer. So we have 86 retailers that we are working with, And through these 86 retailers, on annual basis, we are able to reach close to 100,000 smallholder farmers with a series of the activities that we do. So I think in brief, this is Antica, and this is what we are doing in Ghana. Thank you.
So thank you very much. I think it highlights that Agro-Dealers is not just about the sale of inputs, but it cuts across in terms of what the potential of an agro-dealer is and what we can be able to use agro-dealerships to do. Now, I just want to ask a quick question to our Semukera. Sorry, I'm West African, so I'm allowed to butcher the name sometimes. Yes. So just a quick question. Can you tell us a little bit about your program and then also what you were doing in terms of supporting the growth of the SME? Because I think the name of your project is about grow profitably. So what are you doing to help the SME grow profitably?
Thank you so much. Good afternoon. I'm Landward Semuchera, Agriculture Productivity Director for USAID-funded activity, Feed the Future Rwanda Hingaunke activity. It's implemented by CNFA, or Cultivating New Frontiers in Agriculture, across 13 districts of Rwanda, with the aim of increasing income and nutrition outcomes by sustainably increasing agriculture productivity and strengthening domestic market of nutritious food products. So we are supporting agro-dealers through the model we call Farm Service Center. Farm Service Center, it's like a one-stop shop where farmers come and get all agro inputs and services. It was observed that there is a kind of fragmented sources of agro inputs. A farmer is coming, is getting fertilizer. He or she has to travel to another agro-dealer to get like seeds, to get crop protection products. But with the Farm Service Center, we have all those inputs in one place. Apart from providing agro inputs, the Farm Service Center is also providing extension services to farmers through establishment of on-farm demonstration plots, regular coaching of farmers. So we capacitate the Farm Service Center. They hire qualified staff, including agronomists, veterinary officers. So in terms of support to establish farm service centers, the idea of Farm Service Center started back 20 years back in countries like Georgia, Moldova, Ethiopia, but farm service centers were introduced here in Rwanda in 2020 through the former USAID-funded activity, Hingaweze. At that time, we established 6 farm service centers. And then from the experience gained through those first farm service centers, now with Hingaunguke, we are supporting establishment of 7 new farm service centers in 7 districts of Rwanda. We have a facility we call co-investment fund, where we are co-investing with private market actors to develop those farm service centers. Normally, the support can go up to 50% of the total cost of the project.
Thank you very much. I think this also highlights the current or the types of support that can help a program grow. So I'll come back to ask a very direct question to our Agro-Dealers here. What kind of support do you think would help you expand your business? So please, if you can, Hassan, if you can answer that question, and then I'll have the rest. What do you critically need? So if you were in a pit, like in an elevator, and they tell you in 1 sentence or 2 sentences, give me what would make you expand.
Obviously, it's an increment in capital because demand has already been created and we're still creating it. But means of supplying that demand is the only challenge. So with the credit guarantee that has been launched today, I believe it's a solution to a pertaining problem that is already available. So with the credit guarantee, I believe we're ready to go and attack that solution as that problem.
All right. So Mubarak.
Yes, I agree with him largely. What we need now as HAB Agro-Dealers is great credit guarantee. Like I indicated earlier, many of the suppliers like Yara in Ghana, we run a similar thing. Post-COVID, it was very good. Before COVID, post-COVID now, it's a challenge because fertilizer prices are shooting up. And so if that can be increased with this, I think it will help a lot because farmers will not come and give you the money to go and buy. But when they come and the product is available, it's easier for them. And my brother was saying their interest rates are a bit high, 12 to 18%. Ghana would be the lowest. We are having 45% interest rate in Ghana. 45% interest rate as we speak. So, in fact, if we get 12% interest rate in Ghana, agribusinesses will jubilate. We are going to celebrate.
My brother, there are some other countries at 3%.
Yeah,
I admire them.
Yes, I agree with you, but relative, maybe your higher is now my lower. And so we are hoping to get a 12% also interest rate from financial institutions in Ghana and maybe lower to 3% as he's saying. And that could also be one of the catalysts for our expansion.
All right, thank you. Ms. Rose, what do you think can be done to help you expand?
Yeah, for me and fellow agro-dealers from Malawi, number one is the credit facility. If we can have a credit facilities from our suppliers, that would be great for us. Apart from that, we also need support from AFAP, as we have always done. Don't leave us alone. Keep with us.
Thank you.
Then we also need the guarantee. It may not be there today, but we need it tomorrow.
Well, that's a very strong message. I hope Michael is listening. The guarantee. All right, thank you. So I would like to play a bit of a devil's advocate to say that apart from our guarantee, there are financial institutions in your countries. What is preventing you from being able to access those finances, commercial funding that is available in your country? So let me just let Ms. Rose answer that, and then we'll come right back.
For us, the main problem is the interest rates, as he has always said. Most banks, they give interest rates of about 20-something to 30%, which is very high for an agro-dealer, and we cannot afford that. Thanks to Mike, at least their percentage is about 11%, which is better for us. But with AFAP, I think you can you can connect us to institutions that can give us even lower interest rates than that.
You can just kindly turn off your mic. Okay, thank you. So
in Ghana, if you have a friend in the financial sector now, they would advise you not to pick a loan. Because at 45%, 48%, you cannot pay. So the interest rates are extremely high. And I think it has to do with the economic situation that Ghana we find ourselves currently. So it is not helpful. Anything above 20%, it's crazy. And agriculture sector is very volatile and risky. So to take a 45%, what is the returns on investment for you to make profits and say you are paying back? You will certainly be running at a loss or working for the financial institution. So the biggest headache is the interest rates.
Okay. And then
if you look at the margins we have, let's assume on a ton of fertilizer, it's 3 to 5%. Assuming you had borrowed at an interest rate of 13-15%, yet you're only making a margin of 3%, where would you be? In fact, you would be minus your capital at the end of the year. That's why we are oceaning commercial banks, and we are resorting to this as a Jesus for our salvation.
Well, that's a very interesting way of looking at it. If you take, for instance, another question that I wanted to ask slightly in terms of enabling environment, in terms of government's role, what do you think is government's role in terms of supporting also agriculture SMEs. So Hassan, if you can, are there policies or programs that are being run that can potentially help, or is hindering your businesses?
Actually, the government has come in with a lot of subsidies and very positive policies that have also, at another note, helped agro-dealers grow at a faster rate. Subsidies have created market openness and awareness of the products, thus creating a lot of demand for us. However, at the same point, it is a double sword. They've killed private businesses in most countries, in Uganda and other countries, I believe, the government subsidies. So it is a double sword. Creation and, at the end of the day, killing.
So what
Depending
would
on
be
how you
the
look at it.
message there? Are you asking them to stop? Are you asking them to re-look at it, or to go ahead?
Sister, as I said, it's a double sword.
Okay. All right. So Mubarak, what is the issue in terms of what can government do? You talked about the interest rates. You talked about the economic situation. So what do you think government can do to support SMEs?
Two things. One, having to do with maybe special lending to the agriculture sector. In Ghana, we have a bank dedicated to agriculture, but which is not giving a 1 peso or 1 cedi to agriculture. We have the Agriculture Development Bank. Unfortunately, it's not lending to agriculture. We need to relook at that, as a government, to say we are giving special attention to the agriculture sector with a special interest rate, say 15, 10%. I'm not biting more for like my brother is doing, because where I am, if I get down to 15, I am in heaven. So we need to get that special attention. And then again, subsidies, it's important. Mostly what subsidies do is that it's a catalyst, to stimulate the interest and demand from smallholder farmers. Between 2017 and 2021, the government ran a subsidy program under the PFJ 1.0. And what this one did was, from the private sector point of view, a lot of smallholder farmers' interests were hip up. And then you see a lot of demand for certified seed, moving from 11% usage to about 44% currently in Ghana as we speak. And that was through the subsidy. Farmers were able to afford, and then the availability of the seeds were also there. So post the subsidy, you still have a lot of demand from smallholder farmers and entities looking for this. The other thing it did was also to reduce the prices of fertilizer. Government took up about the 50% cost of the fertilizer between 2017 to 2021. Currently, the subsidy program is no more, and we are having to go 100%. A lot of farmers cannot afford. And many of them, you would see them either withdrawing, reducing their land sizes, and then it means that productivity is going to suffer. And the food security that we are talking of is also at a risk. So the subsidy program is good. It makes farmers come in and they are able to afford. So a special interest rate for agriculture and then improvement on the subsidy program would help.
Thank you. That's a very interesting perspective. I know quite a lot of people in this room might say no to government subsidies. So to hear agro-dealers saying yes to government subsidies, I think is a very strong message. And I can see Maria writing away on her sheet, because that's a critical area that we also as AFAP have been looking at, studying in terms of the impact of government subsidies on the operations of agriculture SMEs. So Ms. Rose, please.
Yeah, for me, just as my friends have expressed, I think we need our governments to make deliberate moves that will encourage SMEs to have some capital borrowed at a lower interest rate, that is in form of maybe agriculture-oriented banks that give very, very low interest. And then they should also make policies that encourage agro-dealers to access the subsidy program. Like in our country, there was a year where we were allowed to be part of the agriculture subsidy in fertilizer, and we did. But the following year, it was cancelled that no more agro-dealers should participate in the subsidy program. So I think governments should deliberately make moves that will encourage agro-dealers to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So again, to our colleague from CNFA, Semukera, quick question. As an outsider or as an enabler of SMEs, what role do you think, or what critical role do you think government can play to stimulate the expansion or the growth of the SME or the agro-dealer?
Yeah, I think, first of all, there is a need for enabling environment, putting in place policies that are favoring the growth of the business, but also not look only at the government level, but also at, as they are raising the issue of high interest rates, I think working with financial institutions is also very key. First of all, to understand the business so that they can develop financial products tailored to the needs of agro-dealers. So, for example, with Hingaunguke, we are working with financial institutions like Bank of Kigali, Equity Bank, but also at lower level we are engaging circles because apart for agro-dealers they need that access to finance, but also farmers to be able to buy agro inputs, they also need finance. So we are tackling the issue at different levels.
Right. Thank you very much. And so in a quick message, I think we've talked about what we want government to do, what we want AFAP to do in terms of financing, but we haven't sent a very strong message to the suppliers. So I want us, we have the suppliers in the room. So what can suppliers do to support also your business? Because you play a critical role in also supporting their business. So how do you think, or what do you think suppliers can do to also enable the growth? So maybe Semekara, if you can just talk a little bit about what the suppliers can do to also support, and then we work our way back.
Yeah, for suppliers, I think as the hub agro-dealers or the model of farm service centers, they are trustable. They are the SMEs that can work with agro-input companies, manufacturers, but at least there is some progress. For example, here in Rwanda, I see my colleague from Yara. I know that they are providing fertilizer credit to agro-dealers free of interest. So that's something that other agro-input companies can do, so that because fertilizers are needed on short-term basis within like 1 to 3 months, depending on the agriculture seasons, especially where agriculture is rain-fed dominated. So I think those big companies should be working with hub agro-dealers to avail inputs on either on credit, but or put in place suitable payment terms for hub agro-dealers.
Right, thank you very much. Ms. Rose, a quick question. I think you already sent your message, but I'm giving you a chance again to send another stronger message to your suppliers. What would you want them to do? Or how would you want them to support you?
Our suppliers, the seed companies, they have already trusted us. They give us large amounts of seed on credit, and we pay as soon as we sell. The sooner you sell, the sooner you pay. So may you please try the same system that the seed companies are doing. Try us, give us consignments, give us a period of time whereby we can pay. If we don't abide by the rules, then you can call it quits. But if we are able to pay you back in time, then continue with us. I'm sure you'll be happy to work with agro-dealers like us, who are so trustworthy. Thank you.
So in one of the morning presentations, I was actually wondering if the presenter was in my mind as to what hub agro-dealers we have to offer the manufacturers. One was the free warehousing. I mean, you are having access to a warehouse where you are not renting. In Ghana, warehouse rental is very expensive. But working with the hub agro-dealers, you are having access to free warehouse space. Then you're also having the guarantee in your payments. It's coming as and when we sell, like what Madam is saying. So we also have some things that we can leverage on as a partnership. So we see it more as a partnership where you can offer us, the products on credit, at least a longer credit terms of 30 days, 45 days, would help us. And then secondly, to the volume in terms of the credit. Maybe is it a 5,000 metric tons? Is it a 2,000 metric tons? That would also be something we are looking at. Key, consistently. I know the suppliers in the room have been very consistent in terms of quality. If nothing at all, I know of OCP and Yara in Ghana. Consistency in quality has been there, and that is also one thing we would be seeking from the suppliers, that we should be consistent with the quality of products that we are selling. That if I'm marketing your product, I know today, 5, 10 years to come, it is still the same product that I am going to market. It also helps in building the brand, and once the farmers accept that brand, it is good to go. So I think this is what we need from them. Thank you.
Thank you.
For me, I think as fellow participants here, whatever they've discussed is quite in the very wake of me. But to add on what they've said, with the suppliers, I believe since it's a value chain where suppliers, agro-dealers, manufacturers, and distributors, at the end of the day, we're all targeting one person who is a farmer. I believe it should be a joint partnership between suppliers and agro-dealers. Make partnership to create demand. Make a partnership to educate the farmer on the benefits of using a fertilizer. Let me give you just a vague example, a vague one. Today in Uganda, in my central region where I come from, $1,000 can purchase 3 bags of fertilizer, which is applicable into 1 acre of coffee. After a period of 6 months, 1 acre of coffee gives you $5,000. An investment of $100 gives you a return of $5,000 in a space period of 6 months. If we had some messages like that with the suppliers in a joint venture with the agro-dealers disseminated into the farmers, what drives life is profitability and making a difference into our lives. So a joint partnership between suppliers and agro-dealers into creating demand in the market would be very vital. It would move the job so smoothly, and it would create a profitability for all in the value chain. That's what I would call for.
Thank you very much. I think when we started, one of the things that I talked about was, as the outcome was for us by the end of this panel to be able to identify what the key pain points and the key drivers for expansion. And I think one has been access to finance or the cost of financing as either a catalyst or a pain point for the farmers. And that is something maybe we need to really pay attention to and to also get government and the different players or stakeholders to also look at. Ms. Rose, in her presentation, made quite clearly a strong message to say that integrity and trustworthiness, also on the part of the agro-dealer, is something that can also support you to expand and grow. We are asking for credit to be extended, but then if you are not trustworthy or you don't have integrity in terms of your business, it also impacts not just you, but then the agro-dealer after you. And that is something that agro-dealers also need to pay critical attention to and also work to strengthen and build. In talking about partnerships, I think that is also something, if you look at our name in terms of AFAP, we end with partnership because we know we cannot do it all. We need other people to also be part of the chain. But you've also taken it to a different level to say that the relationship between the agro-dealer, the supplier, and even their farmers, it's a partnership. And that is something that we also need to work strongly to either grow or to strengthen. And we talked about, one last thing is the fact that there should be continuous capacity building and hand-holding through the process, and that you definitely need those services to continue to expand and to grow. Thank you very much for coming on board and to have discussions with us. Thank you, everyone.
Can we give a round of applause for Nana and her moderation? And one of the things I know this session and the last session, we've picked up the pace without as much from the dais interaction. but our colleagues are with us all week, so please feel free to reach out to them to have continuous discussion. We're going to take a 15-minute break. Well, this is the option. I'll pause. We have a coffee break that awaits us, but we only have one session left. Can we carry on with the session? Yeah, and then when we have the coffee break, we can have that, and then we'll have the reception later in the evening. Okay? So